I like, click, subscribe, do all that. You already know what time it is. It's Netflix time. This series is called Virgin River. Searching for a fresh start, a grieving nursing practitioner moves from LA to Northern California. In a small town, and she's surprised by what she finds. So they got about 2 seasons so far, 10 episodes a season, about 45 minutes an episode. So let's talk about the first episode, Carry On. I had this series on my playlist for a while. So driving down the old country road, we have Melinda, we just call her Mel for short. A Mack truck almost runs her off the road for no damn reason, and her car gets stuck in a ditch. Then we get a flashback about her husband Mark, who we can assume was a doctor too, or a practitioner. This guy comes out to help her as she's trying to call for AAA. He's like, man, you ain't getting no reception over here, just hop in the car with me. So Virgin River is actually a place. She's talking about this cabin she's supposed to be staying in. Then he drops her off at the cabin. Of course, the cabin looks nothing like the picture. See what I mean? She talks about how she's supposed to be working for a doctor by the name of Vernon, but then she accidentally throwing around old insults. She talked about Miss McCrae actually doing the actual hiring, but yeah. The funny thing is she didn't even realize she was actually talking to the doctor that she's supposed to be working for. Well, now don't you feel extra silly? Well, she gets inside the cabin, it's pretty much a dump. Now this is Hope McCrae, she's pretty much the mayor of this town. She's trying to make sure everything's up to tip-top shape, which clearly it's not. We found out in the process that she had actually sold her home and just moved away just so she can get to the position to be here. Miss McCrae says, look, let's just go down to Jack's bar, get yourself something to eat. When you come back, I'll have fresh towels and everything straightened up for you. So she checks out the bar, and here she meets Jack. They get to talking as she's throwing him back. After she's done, he walks her back to the cabin. And her car seems to be just fine. She's got it back. He carries her bags in. He's like, you need any help, just let me know. She gets settled in, and he dips out for the night. Then we get a flashback to her and her husband, Mark, talking about one day having a baby. And then she lays down on the couch. And every time she thinks of him, she starts crying. So we don't know the situation between her and Mark. All we know is that she had to sell her old house. Next day, Jack sends her a little care package with a message saying, hang in there. She heads on over to the doctor's office so she can start work. But when she gets there, he doesn't even want to work with her, honestly. He's still mad at the fact that she called him old, but it's like, yo, get over it. More importantly, he feels like he can handle everything by himself. The thing is, McCrae was the one that hired her, not him. But the thing is, she has a contract to the spot, which for some reason he's not trying to oblige by. But then Miss McCrae comes through to straighten out the doctor. Or at least she tried to. While McCrae's trying to straighten out all that stuff, Mel gets on the phone and starts talking to her sister. Sister's like, you can come back home, I got a job here, you don't have to stay there. She feels like Mel is forcing herself to do this, you know what I'm saying? She keeps telling Mel to stop punishing herself for what happened. So something happened between her and her husband Mark, but they're not telling us what yet. So she goes back to the bar, ends up meeting this lady that talks about gardens and salads and kale and stuff like that. So there you go, you made yourself a friend. Meanwhile, McCrae's trying to talk some sense into the doctor, and Dr. Vernon's like, all right, man, I'll give it 30 days. While Mel's talking to Jack, she's thinking about leaving altogether. Miss McCrae's like, look, I got you on a trial run with him, you know what I'm saying, 30 days. She was like, suitable housing was also in the contract, and you kind of breached. So she takes a side meeting with Jack to try to figure out the arrangements. McCrae's like, all right, I'll give you a better place to sleep at, only if you stick around. She says, all right, but I think she really wanted to get away from the city to begin with. So she heads back into the office thinking she's finally gonna get some work done, but the doctor doesn't want her working with any of the patients. I know she's thinking to herself like, well, what the fuck do you want me to do? Seeing as how she couldn't get nothing done, she goes to a new spot. It's called the Fitches or something like that. She gets greeted by this lady and makes sure she gets settled in. Not really the brightest of rooms or magnificent accommodations, but she's like, all right, it'll do. Meanwhile, Jack is up early in the morning. He hears intruders. He's like, what the fuck is going on? He gets the gun, he ready to go lace niggas. But it turns out to be this guy he knows named Brady. He's like, how'd you get in? The back door. You know how to sneak in with a key. Well, anyway, Jack tells him he can stay there as long as he wants. Meanwhile, Mel's walking down this road. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, she's supposed to meet up with Jack today at like 7 in the morning or some shit. He told her he was going to give her a tour of Virgin River, so you know. But he tells her to take her shoes off so she can put these boots on. She tells her to leave her stuff by the steps so she's not going to need it where we're going. He's like, can I trust you? He's like, we're the only ones here and nobody knows about this place, so yeah, you can trust me. Well, anyway, they go through the woods and they get to this beautiful spot with mountains and trees. And then he gives her binoculars so she can see these special type of eagles that fly around here. Then he starts talking about himself, how he used to be in the army, about how he was a commander, and the dude Brad that we were talking about, he was one of the sergeants. Basically, they have a little connection here. And honestly, right about now, that connection they got is probably the only thing that's keeping her in this town. So after that, she gets to work. She's the only doctor in there. And this pregnant lady named Polly shows up. So since Vernon wasn't around, she's got to do her job, you know what I'm saying? Make sure that she's good. So she basically checks on her to make sure she's good and gravy. Back at Jack's bar, this guy by the name of Preacher says he's gone through the receipts twice, but something's not adding up when it comes to the money. The only people that have access were Preacher, Jack, and possibly Brady when we seen him yesterday. See, Brady was picking up his check that was owed to him, but he says he's got to go run some errands or something like that. But Preacher don't trust Brady. He has his suspicions. But Jack feels like he has an obligation because he talks about how many people he left behind during the war or whatever like that. And he has, you know, if he feels like he's a chance that he can help out Brady, he will. Back at work, Polly wasn't having a baby. She was just having small contractions, making sure everything was good. The doctor finally makes it there. He gets pissed off because she's doing her job or whatever. He basically tells him flat out his patients are like his family to him, and he can't just trust you to them unless otherwise. And she's like, well, honestly, what do you expect me to do? He tells her straighten up the office file, like get coffee, donuts, or something. I know she's like, bitch, I ain't coming here to be no motherfucking secretary. So she goes to McCrae. McCrae is like, look, just give it some time. Don't even worry about it. He'll come around. She's like, nah. He's not coming around. He's on some bullshit, period. Like, he doesn't want me to be there. It's about teamwork, and he doesn't want me on the team. So at this point, Mel's fed up. She's like, look, I'll give you a couple weeks notice. I'll stick around, but I'll give you time to find somebody. But bottom line is, this shit ain't working out. Damn, it's looking pretty bleak for her staying in this town. Back in the room, she stares out the window, and she has another flashback about her and Mark. She's holding a baby, but it's her sister's baby. And then he runs off to work. She was thinking about taking a wedding ring off, but then she puts it back on. Like I said, every time she thinks about him, she starts crying. So you're like, damn, what really happened? So next day, she goes for a jog to the doctor's office. She sees Jack crowding down. It's like, what the heck? And Jack finds that somebody left a baby on the doorstep. And that's how the first episode ends. So this is one of those like TV romance dramas. This is not one of those crazy mayhem type of shits that I usually review or whatever. This is one of those things you get cozy up with your loved one to try to watch. You know what I'm saying? Virgin River on Netflix. Check it out. Like, click, subscribe, do all that. You already know what time it is. Slick DZ, all DZ, mister. Ow, big. You got that slogan.